Welcome to this final Women in Sales webinar for the year. I can't believe that we're already here, but we're ending on such a high note and something that we've heard from so many people, which is how to juggle being a parent and a woman in sales at the same time. So I have the most amazing panel that's joining today, and we're going to dive into the nitty gritty of how to balance and have it all. And we will be taking questions at the end. So go ahead and as you're listening to this, drop your questions in. We'll make sure those get surfaced. Before I get too far ahead, though, I just want to introduce myself. I am Shannon Plum, head of events here at Women in Sales. And I am joined by amazing panel of women who are going to talk about all stages and things that have to do with motherhood and parenthood today. So I'm going to have them go around and introduce themselves. And ladies, so everyone can get a great feel of who you are and what brought you here today. I'd love you to tell us your name, the role and company that you work for, and a quick snapshot of your family. So we'd specifically love to know how many kids, what their ages are, and then one word that describes the stage of parenthood for each of you. And Maureen, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off with you.
Great. Thanks, Shannon. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Maureen. I am the VP of Customer Success at Office Love. I have 3 kiddos. I have a 6-year-old boy, I have a 4-year-old boy, and an 18-month-old girl. So my stage of parenting, I would say one word that I'm in is chaos.
Wait, you stole my word.
Oh, sorry, Paige.
Now you need to think of another one. That's awesome. So you are really in it. 4, 6, and 18 months. You're in it.
Yes.
You're in it. You've got diapers in your house.
Yes. All of it.
Marianne, you're next.
Yeah, so I'm Marianne Lang. I am Global Sector Lead for Cloud Factory. And I have, brace yourselves, 5 bio, 2 bonus, and 1 soon to be in-law. And the age range there is from 4, but he would tell you almost 5 because we're just a couple weeks shy. And the oldest is 25.
Wow.
Wow.
One word to describe.
My word to describe would be hustle.
That makes sense.
That's a good word.
Paige, over to you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Paige. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Sam Sales. I have 2 girls, 4 and 2. And I think my word is energy. They have a lot of energy, and I need a lot of energy to keep up with everyone and everything.
I love that. And last but not least, to you, Megan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan. I run my own currently consulting company, but I am stepping in officially to help be the head of go-to-market strategy and operations for a company. Can't announce it yet, but I will be officially signing that contract soon, which is really exciting to step in to help them. I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son, and my word right now is nonstop. That's my word.
So a lot of energy, chaos, nonstop. I see a theme here. And I think this theme is going to carry through. For the audience, I'm also a mother. I have an 11-year-old son who's in 5th grade, a 13-year-old daughter who is in 7th grade. And my word right now is referee, because that's all I play between the 2 of them who are constantly at each other's throats. So I would love to start. We're in the time of year, which just happens to coincide Q4 and holidays, which is just not fair. So if you're a woman in sales, you just know that not only do you play the magic of holding the holiday season, you also have to meet your quota for the end of the year, lead a team, and rally the troops to finish the year strong. So we're pushing really hard towards numbers. And what does the collision actually look like for each of you? How do you balance those 2 things in your life? And then maybe paint a picture for us what your daily life looks like with Q4 energy and holiday magic.
I can jump in here. For all that maybe have the age that's in this realm, the elf lives at my house.
Ooh.
And the elf used to be a lot of stress for me when I was in sales and when I was trying to chase the end of the year numbers. And so I plan the elf so far in advance. I do a calendar and make sure that I know what we're doing on every night and backup ideas in case things go south. But a lot of it is understanding and super hyper scheduling. I just wrote down both my kids have spirit weeks for their school and preschool for next week. I just wrote down to make sure that we had all of the supplies that we would need. And then I am also a room parent. Why I added that to my plate, no one will know, but making sure that we like planned that a party ahead of time and that we're doing all the decorations and really leaning on the other room parent and making sure that is if I can get ahead of it, that's my number one goal. And then I'm doing 2026 planning right now. I'm literally helping a company and focusing on 2026 planning and looking at how do we focus on those numbers. So I try to be one step ahead, but if I can't, I always have to give myself grace. That is the number one thing for me is just understanding what grace I can give.
I love that. Who on this panel has an elf in their house? Oh, so 3 of 4. Paige,
Just hold
you're
it
like
out.
me.
Paige
Did
is
you ever
like
did you
holding
never go down this
You
path?
just went.
I've never been down. I'm gonna
Me
wait.
either.
I keep thinking like maybe it's this year, and then December 1st rolled around, and I was like,
Yeah.
guess I made it another year with no
You know,
help.
I've resigned to the fact that it's never happening in my house. But I have heard that pre-planning prevents a lot of chaos when it comes to
Yeah.
elf.
We have a calendar reminder in our shared calendar with my husband
Smart.
to move it every night. We made the epic fail. First night, December 1st, Ralph comes, super excited. We forgot to move him. Literally the first day.
He fell asleep, right?
We fell asleep, yeah. And on a whim, like kids woke us up so excited, and then they were like, "He didn't move." I'm half asleep, and I was like, "Well, you didn't give him your Christmas list, so he's waiting for you guys to give him a Christmas list so we can fly back to Santa." And my husband looks at me, he was like, "Gosh, that was so good." I was like,
I'm impressed. That was genius.
I got it. But I would agree to Megan's point too. I would agree that I think in this era right now in Q4, I have to give myself a lot of grace, both in my professional life and my personal life. I don't, there is a lot of pressure to do these crazy things with the elf. There's a lot of pressure to make this magic happen for your kids. And I think that I try my best to not put that pressure on myself and know that I'm doing the best thing I can do for my family. And at the same time, I'm doing the best thing I can do for my company. That often relates to a lot of multitasking. I was running out to grab Christmas gifts while answering emails and Slacks on my phone at every point when I was parked. So I think that, I have the flexibility to be able to do that. There's never ending middle of the day. I got to go volunteer at the library, room parent, PTO things, kids sick. I got to go pick them up from the daycare. They're now home with me. I think that you just kind of have to always be one step ahead, like Megan said. And for us, like planning, we have like a Sunday meeting. This is what's going on throughout the week. This is where I need you. This is where I need to be. This is what we need to do. And then we know exactly what's happening. Does it always go according to plan? No. But at least we have that going into the week knowing, and so we're not just like scrambling to keep up. We're trying to at least to schedule ahead of time and know exactly what's coming.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you have to be a calendar expert and a project manager and be able to juggle a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So I'd love to paint the picture moving forward. So I think there's two sides to this question. One is, what are the non-negotiables that you've established that just have to happen? And then the second is, how do you define what holiday should look like, independent from the beautiful Instagram photos that you see and the pressure to have the perfect elf set up? How do you balance those two things and know like what is a must have and what is just not going to happen, and that's okay, and you've given yourself grace to let that go?
I can take a first stab at this one.
Okay.
So I'll start with the second question first, if that's okay. Around what do I do to make it not cookie cutter, right? Not look like everybody on Instagram and things like that. So we've changed things a little bit in my house this year, specifically because I'm in a heavier role than I have been in the past. And I saw on TikTok, I know that's a horrible reference, but ask your kids 3 things they got last year for Christmas. And if they can't tell you, then figure something different out. And I have always historically, my mom does the same thing, put a lot of pressure on these perfect Christmases, right? My kids couldn't tell me. My older ones could tell me bits and pieces. My 12-year-old said clothes. Okay, well, I buy you clothes all year, right? So we changed it, and it took a lot of the pressure off of me for this year. We're taking all of our kids on a cruise. Period. That's your Christmas gift. It's done, and I guarantee you, next year when I ask you what I gave you for Christmas this year, you'll remember we went to the Bahamas, right? And so that's one thing that we've done differently to take away the pressure of looking like everybody else or looking what you think it should look like. We're defining what we want it to look like, and my husband's very, very thrilled with this approach because it was actually cheaper than my Christmas shopping.
Did you get any pushback from any of your kids
Not a bit.
about having an experience? That's awesome.
Not
Yeah.
a bit. It was really, really, it all fell in, and we're not going until March, right? And so it just really put into perspective what's important. And I told my kids, I'd rather you have the memories than the stuff. We are a house full of people. I don't need more stuff, right? So the memories are where it's at.
Yeah, that's a beautiful example. Anyone
I
else
think
want to take it?
I was going to say, I think for my kids, I try to remember that they're so young, and a lot of the pressure is from us putting it on ourselves or what we see other people doing. Like my 4-year-old and 2-year-old do not care about the things like that, but they are going to remember, at least I hope so, the little moments and the feeling of it. So I try to memorialize the little things, the little feelings, and that comes from like telling them in advance what we're going to do. Like this weekend, we're decorating the Christmas tree. Oh, I'm so excited to decorate the Christmas tree. Or we're going to go look at Christmas lights tonight and go get hot chocolate, and let them get excited about it far in advance. And even the little thing about like moving the elf on the advent calendar every day, those little things that make it feel special, they get more excited about those things than like, and honestly, we have grandparents that are so generous with Christmas gifts and things like that. And sometimes they just get them and they're like, great, what's the next one? Okay, then we don't need a million gifts. So I try to focus on the little things that get like little kids excited, making magic out of the small moments and the feelings, and try to remember that I hope that that's what's going to carry them on rather than the material things too. Not that it's not difficult to stay away from it, but it helps me at least feel like I'm taking a little bit of the pressure off as well.
And I think that's a good point, Paige. I ask when we get around Thanksgiving time, I talk with my oldest, and my 3-year-old doesn't always understand, but I love asking what was your favorite parts about Christmas last year, and really talking about we build those traditions. And it was funny because she said a couple of things that were one-off things that we did. Um, our elf did a scavenger hunt, and it was her favorite thing that the elf did across the board. And she loves that we get advent calendars. My kids love the big advent calendars. And so just small things that mean a lot to them, leaning in harder there is for me what creates the magic.
Yeah.
Agree. Yeah. And I think focusing on that, not just the presents or the stuff, like it really does help. And, my boys are at the age 4 and 6, they're really into Pokemon. So we got them this cool Pokemon advent calendar this year. It's just something that like they get so excited to open every single day. And I think that the traditions that we're building, which a lot of them I've carried on from my family, and I explained that this is a tradition that mama and papa did, that I did growing up, that my husband and his family
Yep.
did. They get so excited about that. Like the day after Halloween, my oldest was like, okay, when are we gonna get the Christmas stuff up? I'm like, okay, let's go. Like, if you want to do it, we can do it. But I think leaning into that and just, yes, Instagram and all those different things, there's a lot of pressure, and you see other moms just going full force. And I just know that that's not me. That's not my personality. That's not how I've raised my kids. And I've instilled that in them, and back to giving yourself grace, like I'm okay with that. So
Those are such great answers. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. So, Maureen, I think you're probably disqualified from this one only because it's about career moves. But if you have anything to add, please do. Maureen has been at her company 8 years, which is just an eon, I think, in many cases. But for those of you who have made career moves in the recent past, how do you specifically interview to find better work-life balances? I know a lot of us talk about work-life balance. I don't know if that's something you believe in or not, or what your take is on that. So if you'd like to give us that, we'd love to hear that as well. And what are you looking at for potential red flags? What's going to make you go, oh, this is not the right place for me? And what green flags do you look for as well? So red flags and green flags, as well as your opinion on work-life balance and if it actually exists.
Oh, as someone who left a company, um, after making, I was one of, I think, two people in the entire company. It was a very young company that had kids. I was doing extremely long commutes trying to make daycare. My husband worked crazy hours at that time, so it was never an option for him to do pickup ever. And so that was really difficult. The red flag there, now, mind you, I'd been at that company for a while, went through my maternity leave during that whole time. So the red flag for me was that the happy hours were required and the
Mm.
expectation was, now they weren't officially, but they sure felt that way, and it was a understanding that people weren't open about talking about their families or their extracurriculars outside of work or kind of what was their passion. And that's when I realized kind of what my green flags and red flags were. Was if we've only ever talked about work in an interview, that's a red flag for me. I
Mm.
want to know about, even if it's not talking about family, because I know of all the legal issues that you can't ask about and things like that, but talking about what do you do, what motivates you, what do you do when you're not working, and just getting that excitement allows me to see a lot more green flags.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
absolutely. I think it's so I have been with my company for 5 years. So joined when I didn't have kids and then had my two with the same company. So it's kind of evolved and we were a very new and young company when I started out as well. Um, but I think we always try when hiring new people, and it's evolved this way as well, is making everyone feel welcome to come to talk about their families and what they're doing. And we have a Slack channel that's called Kid Spam, and people will send like I just sent my daughter's ballet picture this week, and like soccer updates, and people are like excited to learn about that. And I think it's just understood and also explicitly stated when you come in that if you want to take off for a school play or a sporting event, or your kid is sick, it's like it's no questions asked because the trust is there. Your work is going to get done, and we expect that of everyone. And it just I think it really starts from the top. And Megan and I kind of talked about this before we jumped on, that something she shared. But I think it starts with your leadership saying, like, I'm going to take off to do this,
Yep.
and this is why. Here's because this is important to me to do with my kid, or a field trip, or someone's out sick, and showing that it's okay to share that, and it's okay to take off work for that, and there's no questions asked. And then it makes everybody else feel like they can do that as well. So I think if in looking for new roles, that's something that I will never take for granted, and ask, like, how has leadership demonstrated that to you in the past, to make sure that
Yep.
everybody feels comfortable to do that. Because it's one thing to say it and have the policy, and it's another thing to make you feel like you absolutely can, and it's just understood.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that those, the reason why I've been at my company for 8 years, among other things, is because I've gone through now 3 maternity leaves. So my team loves that. They knew exactly what to expect. But I think, at our company, it is a small company, but everyone is open and sharing about their family. And to
Yeah.
Paige's point, it does start at the top. So
Yep.
my CEO is a female. She's a mother. Our entire senior exec team are all parents. So we really do empathize and support each other, and it's actionable. Someone's kid is really sick. What can I do to help? Can I take this off your plate? I think that is not only, like you said, there's the rules and there's the policies in place, but it's actually just having that empathy and just knowing that everyone's human. And even though people on my team don't have kids, that doesn't mean that they also have things that I need to be empathize about, because I know that they have my back when I have to take off to, run to get a sick kid or whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah, really great points. So as you're thinking about, there's a lot of people, as we know, in this environment who might be between jobs, gone through a layoff, looking for something new. What would each of you recommend as the one question that you would ask to be able to assess this work-life balance and this great culture, I guess is a good word for it, that you've described in the companies that you've been at for a long time?
I don't know if it's the number one question because there are a couple.
Yeah.
But I would ask, like, how should my day be structured, or what are the expectations? Because for me, I have a hard block of when I'm getting my girls ready for school and getting to daycare and drop off and coming back. And that's difficult because we're a global team. So there's a member on my team that's in the UK that I'm always working with, and in Germany. And with me being on the West Coast, that's later in her day if we need to meet. And so, but my husband's also in the military, so I'm the default parent, has a changing schedule all the time. That's like sacred time for me that's going to be blocked. But then my colleagues in Europe, they have a block for dinner time. Like this is my time that I'm going to be with my kids, and I understand I need to communicate with people in the US. But this is my time that I'm going to keep sacred for this hour or 2 hours of the day. So really seeing what that kind of looks like. Because I think for me, when I came back from my first maternity leave, I was trying to do both. And I was like
Yep.
having a baby and feeding and like responding to Slacks and not being able to fully type and do what I need to do. And that just like broke me. I was so burnt out and felt like I'm not giving my full attention to my kid. I'm also not giving my full attention to work and giving the best deliverable that I possibly can when I'm trying to split. So just having like the mental shift of I know that I can be fully focused on one thing, that's made it a lot more manageable for me.
It's a great question. Anyone else have a question that they would?
I always go with the communication side, and this is kind of what Paige and I were talking about. As a leader for myself, when I'm going to flip it. As a leader, when I am interviewing people, I always like to be really apparent about communication style and expectations in that way. And I think that that's a really important thing on the other side to be asking about. So for me as a leader, I tell people, as long as you communicate to me, I don't really need to know the details as long as you're getting your job done and communicating to me, because there will also be times where I will communicate to you that my productivity Monday morning, my son's daycare, we walk in the door and the entire power goes out. The preschool's entire power goes out. Someone had taken a telephone pole down a block and a half away that took out all the electricity. I was literally in the daycare and I went, okay, I've got 1,000 things that need to get done today, but he can't stay here. So we packed back up and he came and adventured with me. About an hour in, nothing was getting done. And I sent a message out that said, everything's being pushed back a day because it just can't, like, I can't, I'm going to try as best as I can. But being able to ask about how communication is done when things get delayed or when things get sidetracked or, hey, I need to move this meeting, that is where you can really start to assess what the value of the company is.
Yeah.
I agree what both of you have said. I think one of mine, and this is going to sound very weird, would be how does the company leadership feel about a kid popping into a call? Because I'm sure we've all had an experience where you're in the middle of like that critical call and here comes one of the littles like, hey, can I have a snack? Or the worst one is like, I have to poop. And I'm like, great, thanks, kid. But like, it's those moments, right? And I've worked for a company that it was very much frowned upon. And now I'm with a company that's like, okay, they're part of the family too. And so just asking that up front, I think for me would be super important.
You're right. That's such a good indication of how you
Yep.
feel about really allowing you to be both a full human, a full mother and parent, and also the employee. I love that. And I would also add, just asking, like, can you give me a few examples over the past few months of when somebody has like been involved in an event, like had to take off work or just wanted to take off work for a family event, and if they're at a loss to find one over the last few months, that's a red flag for me.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, transitioning into 2026, because I know that so much of what we talked about so far is how preparation and planning is what makes balancing motherhood and as a sales a person in sales work. So, as you think about 2026 planning, how do you approach goals differently as a parent in sales? How do you balance that ambition and the sustainability of it? How are you thinking about what you need to achieve? And then I'd love to also, if anyone here has a team that they lead, how does that actually roll down to your team?
I think it's a little bit different than the question. I had a leader, and this has helped me with goal setting for a long time. I had a leader tell me you have kind of like three balls. Two of them are glass, and one of them is rubber. The two glass balls are your family and your health, and then the rubber ball is work. And so, understanding
Mm,
that if you're going to drop anything, it should be work, and let that one settle because it will bounce back, and it will bounce back to you, but family and health won't. And that has kind of helped me really define when I'm thinking about goal setting is going, okay, great. Like these are non negotiables for family, these are non negotiables for health, these are the um, protection that we put around the glass balls there. And then, okay, great. So that those are set. How do I then put the work kind of rubber ball in that ambition moving forward? And where does that fit in line? And what does it make sense for us? Um, I have now we've done it multiple times. My daughter's in second grade this year, but I remember the first summer that she was home and I was like, yeah, I'm going to get so much done in the summer. And then she was home and I was like, just kidding. Nothing is getting done in the summer. Like, making sure that, I mean, it goes back to scheduling, looking at scheduling camps and going, okay, cool, this aligns with this. My husband and I both work from home and we both travel a lot for work, and sitting down and looking at schedules and what makes sense. And I've been invited to come to events that like it just didn't make sense. There's an event that I absolutely love attending to, and our October this past year was I could have gotten to Halloween and napped for 3 weeks. Like it was, that's where we were. And so when this event rolled around the second week of November, I said, I turned it down so long ago, even though I would have loved nothing more because I knew it wasn't the right thing for my family. And so you have to kind of realize it's a give and a take. The other portion that I would say from a 2026 like goal setting for anyone who's new to parenthood and balancing it all, don't look at the goal setting in a day. Don't look at a goal setting in a week format. Like, look at things that are, if you're trying to succeed and check off everything on your to do list for a week, for a day, make sure you look at it over the week. Because, like I said, Monday, well, I was home with my son and nothing got done. Yesterday, I was incredibly productive and got so much done. And so, looking at it at a week glance and kind of seeing, did I fill all the cups to enough of a level, is the same way whether you think of it monthly, quarterly, whatever you want to do. Being able to look at it versus not a singular trajectory line, but kind of a, you've got three levels that you're filling. How do we keep those levels all moving upwards without draining another one?
It's great
I
feedback.
love that analogy, Megan, about the glass and the rubber balls, because I think it just goes to the fact of just the flexibility aspect. And I think for me, in looking at 2026 goals and planning, I have to be, I take it as a time of reflection and to kind of reset. So on both professional and personal, like what are things that I started off in 2025 and slipped? What boundaries do I need to reset? I have as my team, I really look to them of like what are things that it could be personal or professional that you want to achieve in 2026 and how can we help achieve those together? Because I think that and then also looking at that kind of halfway and resetting because you might things just happen, like the daycare closes and you just kind of have to roll with it. And I think that you can't put yourself down. You can't think like, well, I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve, but look at it in a different aspect. But I made it through that Monday with my kid home and I was able to do this. And I think that is something that's really important in kind of looking at those goals and what you want to do in the new year.
Yeah. I think it's a good opportunity to, like, building on what you're saying, Maureen, to look at things as a leader and say, what really needs me this year?
Mm-hmm.
And what can I outsource, or what can my team handle, or what can we pivot to make my time more efficient and more valuable to hit those goals? Because I think, especially when you're building, which it feels like we're always building and trying to learn new things and take on new projects, you just kind of get in that momentum of, I can do that, I can do that. I'm going to take that on, especially like, as I think we're all ambitious women. And then really having to force yourself to take a step back and be like, actually, I don't think my brain is needed for this one. Or I think we've got to a point where I can pass this on. Like a great example is we ventured into running ads on LinkedIn and Google this year. And it was the first time. And so completely fresh with running paid ads. And I was doing that and trying to figure it out all in the beginning, and then realized, like, we can hire a performance marketer for that. We can have somebody that helps me, gives me all that time and brain space back, and lets me focus on other things so that we can add a different goal to strive towards at the same time. So I think that's a great opportunity moving into 2026 too.
And that is amazing, because it's exactly where I was hoping this conversation would lead. Is I'd love to understand the systems you've built, the things you've outsourced, both personally and professionally, that make it possible for you to show up fully in your career. What have you found as those like secret unlocks? For me, it was hiring someone to clean my house, and it feels so crazy that I would hire someone to clean my house, but it gives me my weekend back to spend with my kids and allows me to be fully present and not have to scrub toilets, which is not a great use of my time. I'd much rather hang out with my children, and I'm thankful to have the opportunity to be able to do that. Anyone have anything that they've outsourced or system they've built that has just changed the way that they approach work balance? Anything?
Yeah.
I can take a little bit of the home piece of it. So with so many kids and so many pickups, I delegate my older kids and trade them off their cell phone bill for picking up the younger kids from school. And it just takes one thing off my plate. I do drop offs because that's our time. We go through like the positivity of the day, right? And have that conversation. But for pickups, I don't want to hear about all the elementary and middle school drama. So I let my older kids pick up the kids from school, and it has worked wonders for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that one of the challenges that my family has found, we don't have close family nearby. We decided to move away from our family. So our grandparents, we don't have anyone around to just like, oh no, I'm stuck in this meeting. I'm stuck downtown. Someone needs to go around and pick up the kids. So something that we've really tried to focus on, and we're thankful that we live in a smaller community, a smaller village in Illinois. We've really kind of rallied around our like friends groups, and we found other friends that also don't have family nearby, and we just help each other out and know, like, I can't get to go pick up the kids. We had family friends that the plan was to just have them over for the evening. Well, the dad's flight got delayed from China 7 hours. We had an impromptu school night sleepover with 5 kids. It was great, but like we were able to help them out and do that. And so it's really been about building that village for us, just to have that outlet, because we can't do it all. My husband and I both work full time. He goes into the office, I'm remote. So there's just constant this back and forth that we've really tried to focus on building our village around, just so that we can have that outlet of support and know that someone else can go pick up my kid if I can't get there.
I think of it from like the Marie Kondo way, right? Of what brings you joy. I will say it, grocery shopping does not bring me joy. When trying to, my son, neither child wants to stay in the cart. My son is a wanderer, has no fear of strangers. Like it is what it is. My daughter has 10,000 questions as I'm trying to remember the grocery list. And like, she wants to write it down and check off the boxes. And so for me, that was one that was wild that I never expected, was outsourcing groceries. Like, I get it delivered at my door, and it feels so weird to me sometimes, but it has helped us be better about eating meals at home, not forgetting about dinner at 5 o'clock at night and being like, what are we having for takeout? And just that is for me the key thing of being like, okay, great. Does not bring me joy. As we bring, full circle to the elf, I am a very extra person. Like, I am a Disney queen, very extra. So like, I like to go above and beyond on the elf. But the minute that it stops bringing me joy, that elf will just have casual movements around the whole house. Like, it'll just move small things. And so being able to say no to a lot of stuff. Like, do we want to go? No, I don't enjoy it. I don't want to be there. Don't want to do this. Has been really, really helpful in just how I choose to outsource things. I'm super mom. I've always been that. My husband's number one thing. He's like, you can't be superwoman because you can't. There's not enough for you. There's not enough time in the day. And so having someone who also is there to kind of call you out on it is a really key thing too. My husband will say to me, like, why'd you put that on your plate? And I'm like, yep, you're right. Absolutely. Yep. Just being, I did all my Christmas shopping on Amazon. Not a single thing. I didn't care. Like, was I going in person? Nope, not. It's just, it was all being done. If it couldn't be bought on Amazon, it wasn't being bought. Just how we can reduce the time. And I don't feel guilty then at 10 o'clock at night laying in bed placing the grocery order for tomorrow. Like, that's so much easier than trying to wrangle 2 kids under the age of 8 around the grocery store. Is really, for me, the key outsourcing.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Megan, but my thing is they want to buy everything too.
Everything.
It's not on the list. Oh, there's Oreos. Oh, those look good.
We have a very, like, I have a discussion with them going into the grocery store. Like, you may pick out one thing. Don't ask me to buy every single thing on the shelf. Don't touch every single thing. Don't put it in the cart. We are not doing that. And I think I am actually a weird person in the sense that I actually do like grocery shopping, only because my husband and I have an understanding that when I go grocery shopping, I don't bring the kids. It is my one time to just have space for myself and just go and get it done. I like to pick out my own fruit and produce. Now, do I do Instacart when I get crazy busy? Yes, of course. I know that that's always there, and I love it. I love getting deliveries of my food directly to my door. But sometimes I like to just kind of get out of the house and do that. And I think that that's just something that we've made in our family. And I think that also too, going back to Megan and Paige's point of, it's okay to say no to things, both in a professional sense and in a personal sense. I've tried to set pretty clear boundaries with my team of, hey, after school time from like 3 to 5, I'm just not readily available. Can you watch my tickets, and can you respond to my customers for this day? And they just know that this is 2 hours when I'll get back on, I'll follow up once the kids go to bed, do anything that I need to do to plan for the next day. But it's okay to just set those boundaries, and it's okay to say, no, I can't really take that meeting at 4:00 because I have to go do pickups and I have a kid home at school. So
that's perfect. And that's exactly where we're going with rapid fire. So I'd love Marianne, Paige, and Megan to tell us one boundary you've set that changed everything. From you, Maureen, it was not available 3 to 5 to spend time with your kids. Marianne, do you have one?
Mine would do with scheduling too. Like, I start my day usually at 4:30 or 5:30 in the morning to meet with my Kenya and Nepal teams. It just works better. But I'm hard stop at like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I do school pickups and the nights are mine. So that would be probably my one big thing.
Perfect. Paige?
Yeah, same a little bit of what I talked about earlier, setting the boundary for daycare drop off and morning and all of that stuff. But also just being really clear when somebody asks me at work to take something new on, or there's a big project, or can you get this by this date? Just really being honest about, I can, but I have to drop something else. Like, is there something else that you want me to drop? Or can this wait 3 more days or a week? And just being really clear about not piling too much on and being a yes man, so that I can set, because oftentimes, like, even bedtime is crazy now. I used to say, well, I'll always get back on after bedtime to like finish anything, tie up any loose ends. And sometimes it's like 9:30 and I'm falling asleep in Jenner's bed now. And so I can't guarantee I'm not going to fall asleep. So just
2-hour bedtime.
Oh my gosh, it's so long.
The worst.
So long. And you think you're like in a good stage and then something happens.
Yeah.
But
it always changes. It's always evolved. That's the one thing about kids. If you don't like where you are right now, just wait a day or an hour because it will definitely evolve and change.
it will always change.
Yes. Megan, do you have a boundary?
About deadlines there.
My boundary is probably that I will over communicate. So if you're calling me and you're calling me in a time frame that there are kids in the car, the first thing that I will say is it's going to be loud. I have kids in my car. I'm not going to try to pretend that it's not around me, right? I'm not going to pretend. When we jumped on meetings on Monday when my son home, I was like, he's right there. He's sitting right here playing. If he's going to start yelling, if he needs me, I'm going to have to step away. And so just being really clear about that, because like everyone here, I've had teams that span from the UK to the West Coast. I've had leaders that span across the board. And I hope that it leads by example then, that you understand that I don't expect you to be on at night, but if you need something or I need something, I also will always be there. But more importantly is so will whatever chaos is around me will also be there.
Yeah, great. Moving on to the next question. What's one piece of advice you give your pre-kid self about a sales career, knowing what you know now?
Give myself grace.
Still mine.
It's probably the like it's knowing that again, I just recently learned the glass balls and the rubber ball, but like if I would have known that forever ago, it would have changed a lot. My experience having my daughter and on maternity leave and then coming back, there was a lot of chaos and I was so stressed. I gave myself postpartum anxiety and all of that. And it was just really horrible because I was at a mental low that truthfully, if I tell you I can't remember my daughter's first year, like I just can't. And so there's a little part of me that kind of eats me alive for that reason. And so for me, if I would look back at my pre-kids self, it would be just to give myself grace and to know that if it doesn't feel right, it's not right. Like that's the simplest answer. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. And wish I I learned so much come kid two. Learned so much come kid two. And I'm proud of myself that I've not sworn this entire panel as I'm usually quite colorful language, but I jokingly hear that people say like you start giving a few less once you have kids. And I feel like as you get kids, Marianne can attest to that. As you have more, you give less. And I feel like I wish I would have told my pre-kid self that's what I wish I would have told them.
Yeah. I was going to add on to that. Just maybe don't have the fear around it, because I think for me, I was like, oh my gosh, as soon as I have kids, like I'm going to take a huge hit to the career. Nobody's going to want to promote me and hire me. I'm not going to be. But I think you become so much more efficient because your time is precious. So I can get so much. What was I doing with my life pre-kids? Like, what did I spend my nights doing? And like so much sleep. Like, you just become so much more efficient, and like your values, everything just becomes more clear. So just don't sell yourself short in that respect.
Yeah. And I think to add on to that, I view my motherhood, my parenthood as a strength in sales. I negotiate with toddlers every day. I don't back down.
No.
I can close a deal. That kid didn't want to wear pants. I got him to wear pants.
Win of the day.
I win of the day. So I feel like, and I'm a project manager. I'm a scheduler. I just feel like to your point, like my super strength in sales is that I am a parent. And I think the other thing that I would tell my pre-kid self is that it's never the right time. I was always so worried about we can't have a kid now. Like I'm trying to, climb this ladder and I can't jump jobs now. Like I've got young kids. There's never a right time. Just think about if it's gonna serve your family, if it's gonna serve yourself, then do it. It can't be a perfect time for everything. Something's always gonna go awry. Like, during COVID, I had my son, he was 9 months old. He was at home with us every single day. My husband and I are living in a 2-bedroom condo in the city, working side by side. It was awful, but you know what? That's just what we did, and we made it work. So you just kind of have to keep pounding it.
Yep.
I love that, Maureen. I had my first at 19, so I had a kid before I had a career.
Yeah.
I would say my pre-kid self, well, she was young and very, very dumb. But I would say I think it would be don't forget yourself. Right. And
Yeah.
I've been through this a lot recently where I put myself on the back burner and everybody else comes before me. And I'm starting to shift that mindset. But I think that's one of the biggest things because the world doesn't like a lot of stuff would stop if I wasn't here. So don't forget yourself.
I love that. It's that put your oxygen mask on before putting
Yeah.
someone else's on. It really
Yes.
is so true in parenthood. And I think in leadership, it's a great analogy for how to take care of teams, take care of yourself. Okay, so we are almost out of time, but I want to at least throw one question. We've got one question in the chat. The question is, would you say that there's a lot of potential for career advancement in tech sales? And then if so, what are some jobs and titles positions where you think there is that advancement?
Yes, absolutely. There's tons of advancement. And as someone who I've done the gamut of tech sales. I started as a BDR. I've been in an AE. I've been in sales enablement. I've been a sales leader. I've been a director. I've been a head of go-to-market strategy and operations. When I tell you that the sales world is evolving and the job titles are evolving, is there's so much there. I think what it really comes down to is what you care about and what you want to do. I went to school for zoology. I never in 1,000 years would have thought that I was ever going to end up in sales. And I think I kicked and screamed my way into sales for probably the first like 5 years. I was like, this is not for me. If you like talking, go into sales. If you want to help, what matters is really the product that you get behind, the tech company that you get behind. That is a key thing because if you feel like you can care about the tech, you can do anything when it comes to sales.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I agree.
Next question. What advice do you have for a saleswoman who wants to become moms, but they're scared of having to deprioritize your career? And I think we've talked a little bit about this or touched on it. And if you have to choose one or the other, or can we actually have both? Well, I think we've already proven this one. We can absolutely have both. We've got
Absolutely.
amazing women here that have shown exactly that and talked through. What would you say, though, to somebody who's maybe scared that it's going to derail?
You can have it all.
Yeah.
Don't let the fear hold you back, I think is, yeah, like I said before, there's never a right time, to have a kid or to do that. I mean, I think that you surround yourself with people that are supportive. Everyone's family situation is different. You build up yourself, and knowing that what you have can progress you in your career. So yeah, I think that.
And
I
don't
think
be
from
scared.
yeah, don't be scared. I love that. And
Yeah.
from my
Yeah.
perspective, there's no right way or one way to do anything.
Yeah.
My husband actually decided to stay at home with the kids for a while, and he was a stay-at-home dad while I was climbing the career ladder, and that allowed us to do more. Of course, we had to cut back on spending. We had to make a lot of decisions because of that, but it was the right thing for us to do with our family. So there's a million ways to make it work. I think you just have to be creative. You have to communicate with each other, and you have to be honest about what's important and what's not, and be very selective and decisive about that because you have less time and you have to make adjustments. Yeah. So last question, if you're currently on a project at work and that you're not excited about, and assume you're coming back to the same company after maternity leave, how would you suggest that someone who's about to give birth stay relevant and competitive, knowing that they're going to be back on the job market, looking for something different when they come back or in a transition point? First of all, I guess maybe how long were your maternity leaves? I think that is really pertinent here too, because I see things from a couple of weeks to, if you're in Europe, you get a year off in some countries. It varies greatly.
I think with my daughter, I had 12, I actually had a little over 12 weeks because it fell, she was born end of August. So it fell kind of through the holidays, which was really nice. So I came back in early January. So I had a little over 12 weeks. With my son, I actually had less time. And then crazy enough, we couldn't get him into the daycare for like the first probably 6 weeks or so after I came back from maternity leave. So I was on Zoom meetings with a baby strapped to my chest, and it was just kind of what we had to do. As for kind of staying relevant and competitive, I think it's the same whether you are about to give birth or not. The key thing, and I think a lot of everybody right now, is networking and building out the network and building kind of the resources and going from there. It sounds like you're not thrilled at the company you're at based on the project that you're saying. So maybe this is a great time to refigure out what you care about and what matters to you. If this is your first, motherhood is this adventure that makes you a whole new person. Like, I probably can't even tell you who I was as a person before kids. Like, the person that I am now and the person back then, I'm not sure. I'm not sure we're the same person. There's no way we are, because my priorities back then and what I thought my ambitions were, and then what my ambitions are now, and what I realized were my strengths and my weaknesses, are all so different the minute that they put that baby in my arms, right? So what really understanding what you care about and what matters to you, and taking that time to kind of really do some inner thinking. You're going to be up late with a baby. Take that time to really think about what you want and what's important to you, and build yourself a network. It's a perfect time to. And it, everyone says sleep when baby sleeps. You won't. I'm just going to tell you that you won't. So don't listen to that old wives' tale. Do what fills your cup during that time frame. When the baby's sleeping, do what fills your cup.
Yep.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you. This was such a fun conversation. I loved the different perspectives, how you've all made it work through different journeys. We've got people who have moved a bunch, people who have many, many kids in the house, and how you've all made that work is just really inspiring. So, thank you to each of you for your time today. Thank you for an amazing audience who gave some great questions. I know I speak for myself, and I believe for everyone on this panel. If anyone has any lingering questions or would like to connect with any of us, we're all on LinkedIn, and I'm sure we'd be happy to continue the conversation. But here's to a wonderful holiday season for each of you, very magical, and a great 2026.
Great. Thank you,
Thank you.
Shannon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.